지내네 소소가 틈비 차들 차바담 만틈비 만든 무도비 쇼들 당와지니 차당이가네 캬버치니 랑진이지 랑진이 나라가다 년지들이 레베지니다 같이 뭐 지용소 때네 마땅니니 마이와네 마땅보 마시 담보 주섬니 네니 담보소 어다 디디용서 자원로 용통로도 찾고서 당공하시 놀라시지 덕건도 지내다 측계비 노적한 것들이 때라테니 지금 셀리 세트업에 립사요 때라테니 버쳐 자용소 때라테니 남인데 문제에 서진이 나노 코라코다 이러지 마리병 코라코도 코르도데 조만 만진디용 거 또는 비당지 겸도 월든데 동전기 자와 탐지 마리파레스 무시워스 근데 마리파이 데시 마리파레 간다지 마리파레스 그러죠 말아도 나한테 봐도 나도 진지 그러잖아 마세한테 기똥처럼도 마세한테 가르치고 그러는데 심지지나 헛가라 또다 디시에 말이나 뭐 생부 뽑겠다나 장디 딱던져 봐 마세한테 장마인 봐 딱바인 봐 문지비 나바제 봐 근데 딱던 저 봐네 상디 아니 대화 네 기당다 근데 지금으로 콜 근데 지금 요삼도 생부 푸나 이거지 근데 지금 오늘 진짜 자리 손에 요 말하고 공부 일단 먹는다서 이때 공부하고 될라 딱비 망점 되지 아니 공부하고 될 자리 손에 즈기 공부들라 아니 지금 정만 진거를 장당 요 망아도 맞속비 정배자 랑진진 아니 지금 아주 이 말을 보고 지금 딱 맞장만 나왔던 근데 지금 정추지니까 정말 fokus te ngaro lindri yongar te mo jeni jong yo mars ani ngado tapa in samdo tapa ye mar ngado kach kach nji chini de gini nani chido yo ba rose je chong de ngado lid pa jigni jong yo te de zang de ta oda de rig ani da kan zam zin da de gawa yo de sa so 통공 모델 답에 망점지 이마도 얘기고 말해 때 시고 때这个系统지나 빨리 하고 지도 그런 마주 짓던 아 세대 간다 진정기 남기 간다 그 삼동 그 삼동은 느껴지라
So as I mentioned earlier that the Buddhist understanding of self-love and self-cherishment is the cause of all the troubles and all the suffering. And this is because if we go approach this this very theme, and let's say what is the Madhyamika Mulakarika, and or the entrance to the middle way philosophy by the Chantarakirti. Yeah, yes. So by the great Indian master Chantarakirti and Madhyamika Mulakarika, Madhyamika Avatara, Madhyamika Avatara, Mulakarika Avatara, and the enter into the middle way, and so in this treatises or text, Chantarakirti clearly point out the process of the samsaric problem, or our sort of earthly miseries. Okay? So our earthly misery is started with the ignorance, avidya. In other words, is the ignorance or the unknown and ignorance. And then because of this unknown or not knowing or ignorance, and we attach to, first of all, we have no idea, or we have a wrong idea about the nature of our very individual identity. Okay? Because we are either have no idea, or we have a completely wrong idea about the nature of our individuality, our self. So therefore, from this ignorance, and then we, so when we claim, or feel, and states, make some kind of statements with a very sense of I, and so in that moment of I, if you go check, and then the very attitude, that very I, and as a result of the production of ignorance, is what happened is that we always have the two tendencies and a strong tendency. One tendency is this. So after you claim the I, so that you will see that you make the huge distinctions. So that distinction is like this. Anything you feel that you like it and is and do you a favor and approval and something that's appealing to you, and then your statement of I and or your attitude towards that very object is with a very strong attachment. You are very attached to that, and then because of this attachment, and when something happen, interfere or sort of cut off the process of or continuity of this enjoyable or favored state of being or thing, a relation, and then what happened is the frustration arises right away. So that frustration is the aversion, is a dislikeness, is some kind of hatred. And so see, you first of all, you have no idea about I, right? All your idea of I is very wrong. Then you attach to that I, and based upon how you feel, your recognition, your senses, and about the importance or the acceptable or rejectable, and then you further, and so you develop the attitude either toward that of things with a greater love or a greater rejection, a strong rejection, and so yes, because of that, and then you accumulate the karma and mentally sort of digging in and develop some kind of the habitual, sort of mechanical, and the momentum and or forceful sort of a state of the mind. And so this I, right, and then give you this sense of mine. So as soon as you have that I or me, the person, then and the next is you will say is mine, my opinion, my belongings, and my relation, or my feelings, or anything that's right, immediately as after I is being mine. And so and that's I, and attach to the favorable thing, and then reject the unfavorable, and it's so if something is new, then you're planting a forceful experience, mental experience. In other words, you uploaded something onto your consciousness, and if that thing happened is sort of like as a result of the recollection or the memorization, you triggered your memory, right? If you had I, then you claim a mine. And that if that's a result of your memory and your past experience, then you reinforce that habitual propensity or the mental imprint, right? And then from there, you further reinforce the importance of other self, and then at the same time you reject the others, or you deny the rights or the of others, and you've been disrespected and for others. So there's a separation of I and you or other, and basically is your ordinary, general state of being. And so we never, the funny thing is, or the laughable thing is, that we never really pay close attention about this I, your very self, and the I that you cherish so much, or you love so much. And we never ask the question, what do I mean? Where is that I? What does the I look like? Right? And we never ask this question. If we do ask this question and be serious about what we are curious or serious about what we are really claim, and then you will find out actually you can't find that very I as you claimed, or that I appear in your mind. Okay, our general sense of I, more or less, is involved with marked by four qualities. First of all, we say I, and we will tend to think that very I is first of all between the dirt, something is dirty and something is clean, and you definitely the very I you claim, right, is clean. And secondly, and the very I you claim between the painful and enjoyable, and you claim that I is something that's enjoyable, someone is enjoyable, and then between the others and independent I or Unitarian I and the mere I, you very claim that you define yourself, or you claim that's you, and is the someone that is Unitarian, someone that is the independent, is an independent entity. It's not a dependent arising, but it's an independent entity. And then lastly, the I, which you claim, and is between the permanent and impermanent, is a permanent entity. So it's not impermanent. In fact, it is not. And our I, our very self, or individuality, is devoid of these four qualities, and never ever been in such a nature. But we do claim it, right? And so then, what really our I is, individuality or self. As a person is from Buddhist theological or philosophical point of view, and which is the mere and production of the five aggregates. Right? Is the sort of the designation based upon the five aggregates. Five aggregates, for example, like a form. Right? The form, right, is the things involved with the shape and color. So here, when we say I, or me, right, we are pointing out to this physical entity, the physical structure, our body, and but this body, in fact, just you check in exam that is that a form of that body is yourself. You will find why? Because the very first thing is that you think you as something as the entity that is clean, right? Is that really the case? When you examine it, you will find your body from the crown of your head to the sole of your feet, and no pieces, no single thing is there can be considered as clean. Why? Because see, as an ordinary human being, and we very proof of our body is not as clean as we think is because we have something we call the bathroom or toilet, right? And why is bathroom? Why is the toilet? Right? So what does the toilet do? Apparently, the things that events or whatever we do in the toilet, and which means that. There's nothing we can tell us that something is clean, right? It is unclean, right? It is something not pure, but it's dirty. And so this physical body carries that kind of the thing which is offset from what we claim or we believe so, we attach to. Right, and then you further go on, like whether this physical body is prominent or improminent. Of course, our basic senses doesn't give us a clue or suggestion, give us a strong suggestion or indicates that this body is changing momentarily. Right, it doesn't give us that sense. It is, but it give us the sense of it is remain the same. Right. And so under such a wrong impression and wrong misunderstanding, and we believe that there is I and this self and or the individuality, and who is something kind of just is lovable and give us a kind of reason to cherish, to feel is great about it, right? But indeed, and this very self you claim, and from Buddhist, ultimately from Buddhist point of view, is a mere I, is the production of designation.
랑진즈기 님기셔봐도 저진즈기 반셔봐도 다나가도데 랑지월즈 비실 증기 님기셔기 같게 자다 담보네 레린 탐지 진된다 시송데 랑 섬진 탐지 능력도 문도 봐봐도 너도 만들어 좀 싸워는 레린 다사 신줄로도 소화돼 레린 다사 치파인데 데프터 나르메니 스스티워터 루이 링마 우리도 되니 능을 용화 능을 여러 용화 또 담버 보고 하소니 용화 탐지 게메바리 종아 마인지 리턴 요모위 근종라 때니 종아데 리턴 요모소 조ल 요모위 능니경 다든즈비 마리피 등을 탄치 기위 싸와이 노세다 다다 시기들에 등을 싸와 마리반즈 산데 아세데 손데 다때 전지치 모리 가르즈나 디튼 땅나 튀와 강요동 지파동 등을 진이 요바기와 데근 다든즈 발리 종나 레슨되고 놀라지식 샤지시와동 근데 다 자연 당진기 조시 요모와 남나 랑라 노바는 노비 모치라 디 여름 코난 드바다 여름 코난 텀벌 드트 메데 에닐리 저트 여름 진처 다키로 노비 촌 표를 예치고 덕덕ኛ라 내월 네처나 크로아 콜지비 교와 갈라케를 시송 시당 자연 랑진지기 노바 타마총위 한바드비고니 거바 삼비고니 크로위 코르남 가버샤티 데탑 이템 마리피 정외랑 지원진 랑진진 정 야원도르위 로퍼타위 촌차 종데 게득 쳇산니 원투 넬럭기 속조버시비 득진 샴바티 드난다 어떻게 다든지 당장 겐지지 용거다 데지그레 겐지 오토마르 로스마
Oh yeah. Okay. So please go to your translation copy 47. On page 47, I'm going to read from the top. Yeah. So what is to be given up by contemplating the disadvantages of selfishness. So here, now we are going to actual the contents of the today's discussion, or in the actual discussion about self love or self cherishment. And the self cherishment or self love, and here in the translation has been translated as selfishness. So it says here that banish the one to blame for everything. That one is the self-cherishment or self-love, selfishness. As the text goes on, and we see here how it defines the selfishness or self-love, self-cherishment is indeed the troublemaker, or is indeed the cause of all the miseries. Here it says, we sentient beings run after misery that we do not desire and never achieve what we wish. At the root of it, all we seek to lay the blame elsewhere, which is a mistake. This is because all the various lengthy and violent sufferings that come from being born among the 5 or 6 kinds of existence, from the hell without rapid to the peak of existence, are not without causes, nor do they arise from unrelated causes. These come about in dependence upon the actions and the disturbing emotions that give rise to everything. Since actions are caused by disturbing emotions are the primary factor. However, among the disturbing emotions, it is the ignorance that clutches onto a misconception of self. A misconception of self that is the principal source of all misery. The Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life says, however much torment, fear, and suffering there is in the world, it all arises from the misconception of self. Oh, what trouble this great ghost brings me. Furthermore, since disturbing emotions, chiefly created by seizing onto a misconception of self, bring us harm, they are the actual adversary. We should not maintain a relation with this long-term antagonist. The same text says, though through long unbroken context he is our foe, sole cause of an ever-increasing heap of trouble, when we are certain of this in our hearts, how can we be happy and unafraid in cyclic existence? Oh, yeah. A little bit more. Moreover, we can attribute all these harms to our selfish attitude and think of how it slams the door on all benefits and accomplishments. We should be aware of it. Likewise, the self-centered attitude is an expression of stupid ignorance, since this lack of consideration for others is like taking hold of the sharp weapon of a wrong view and slaughtering any concern for good and bad deeds. So, right here within us is an evil butcher who cuts off the source of a life of higher status and benefits goodness. Yeah.
뭐들 다때 가서 지금 고대오 로지니 그 시기에는 가서 지나 지금 가서 참 대화도 비요 되긴도 비요 얘는 가서 리더라 때네 아니 리다나 가서 미 리튼 직접 요는데 때네 아니 리더라 때네 배추당나 정보 야부 차 배추당나 망보지 요래 마르고 배추당나 망보지 요래 얘는 가서 저 당보네 이제 지원을 비고네 아니 지금 못했는데 리튼데 배추당이고네 이제라 판통치 토엔 리튼델은 시라가 판통치 토가 니와 친구 요래 텔라 때네 남시지고 저때가 아니 텔라 때네 지금 사원 시디가 사원 망보 시장바다 양지 지바다 근데 망보 스트야 리델라 때네 니와도 졸리라 수바텐데 세망보지 용탁이 요다 이제 지원 좀 비고네 때네 망보 샤워 덥탁이 요다 등아주 듣고 말아 소소랑 지원 좀 비고네 아니 마르 용모공가 소소 데키 종나 삼비 삼로된데 코르고 때 잠네 네급가 대화 총총 저라 삼로던데 그경으로 보고 대화 튼지 몇 정도 배 좀 지나가도 꼬마장게도 꼬마자야 되게 쨌던 꼬마장게도 용어지 그런 거 지금 스피라 대화 중 나와서 니데 젠기 노드 터 꾸이지네 니데 배초 당지네 니 지금 네급가 대화에나 다 때리게 대화도 좀 나서 삼로된지 코르고 때문에 코네 니 꼬마기 하고 맞추지 이거 무슨 붙여봐도 용어가 될 당 꼬마기 하고 소소랑 구마잡니 모두 톱도 맞톱지기 요까지 톱아이다 톱상 모두 파송치니 까리잡지 싸가지고 주도 소소 티스마 대 종농적이요 때 농초비 오는데 농초비 같은 때는 소소에서 나 강을당 암적 근리랑 내용 거때 정말 지마티 그마티 방이신 정말은 정관로 정관로네 나주 지금 뭔고 양지 참 도와로 참 뒤에 좀 뒤 지정 가르치나 참 전에 때나 예도과 저기도 정말 채등원이 소수도 어찌다 말다 소수 채등원이 레드 사용으로 뒤 샤워 자동 소수 채등원 수지 지당도 차도 소수 샤워도 좀 때라더니 예도과 소수라는 소수 예도과 소수란 전에 근데 저종지는 예도 당부가 되지 때마다 어쨌든 그런 그렇게 말을 어떤 일이 송마디 지금 아주 리그 남적셔도 넘버선 리그 땅사보셔나 림비그 남적셔나 때 카오를 돈로 디셔나 텐데지다 리세 소소런 거 당고 풀라 내가 세 내가 기부 용나더니 이제 야원도 이제 모두 초지 수꾸마 여를 차시도 파쇼 촌에 꾸마 염령이 아 정관로 니 등이 용거선 거요 말은 니 배추 땅지 나 야보 정가선 거 용거 때 로버다 어 고송
야, 딱 고송하는 거, 고송.
들리지네. 가만 들리지 그랬어. 다 레비게 남쪽 시땅으로 노르디셔나 들리지 그랬어.
Okay. So, I believe that based on your readings of the text, what the author tried to point out is quite obvious, right? It's not that hard to understand. My interpretation is this. So if we put it very simply, and so the point of the discussion and at this particular context is that we all want to be happy, and all do not want to experience any misery. And that is the fact. And so, and the way we respond to and this very innate desire or this natural inclination, right? Meaning that to achieve the happiness and to have a happy life, and so the way we respond has caused a lot of problems. The problem arise is because of our misunderstanding of our own identity, our self, our sense of a perception of ourself as a person is wrong. Okay, because we got a very serious misconception of self. Under the influence of that misconception of self, and then our approach towards the happiness, to be happy, is instead of indeed bring us or created happiness for us, actually is created all kinds of miseries. For example, and so we want to be happy, right? And we want to approach to achieve our goal. Then we take action, right? Forward to achieve the goal. We have this body, right? We use our body to achieve that goal. But when you look at the way how we use this body, it's opposite from what we try to achieve, right? Because last times this body is precious. This it's function, right, and it's a greater functionality, and it gives us kind of a great open us to fully to take advantages of this body, right, from a spiritual point of view, and from the the real, the genuine way to achieve our happiness. But we, in many cases, not fully use our body and doing something to achieve our goal of happiness, but doing something opposite. Right? For example, if you use this body, right, and then utilize its, take advantage of it, and utilize it, whatever the functions and capabilities you have, and you can execute, or you can perform with this body, and so, for example, let's say I use it to achieve, all right, to develop the greater qualities such as like peace, right, and the compassion, loving, and generosity, and equanimity, right, and wisdom, and so on and so forth. If you use this body, right, and exercise its power, and take advantages of its unique functionality, and you can definitely make yourself and make yourself to become a peaceful person, and loving, kind, and generous, and very wise, insightful, and delighted, and a very noble person, because the way you use your body and is to achieve all these qualities, right? And the reason you can achieve such a thing is because you have not just physical form, this entity, but you have the consciousness, the mind, right? The mind is very, very powerful and intelligent, right? It can define, and it can pursuing, and it can deepening. So it can help you to achieve your goal, right? And but sadly enough, and in general, or generally speaking, ordinary people seems they never figured out, or they not use this, take advantage of the body they have, and the precious and powerful consciousness to achieve and develop such a spiritual quality. And so what they do, if you look around, you will find that the people in general, and they use their body, the functions of the body, the power of their intelligence. What they do is they try to achieve or enjoy happiness from moment to moment. In other words, they focus on instead of focus on the long-term and spiritual happiness, and they are attached to, they use their body and use their intelligence and to focus on the temporary happiness. Okay? Happiness from moment to moment. It's a small sort of a portion and very contaminated and the sensational pleasure. They're not really working on the actual spiritual happiness, but it's a physical, sensational pleasure. And so a great example of those individuals, and we can use is a thief, right? The person, whoever, a person who become a thief, who's committed to the crime, and as a thief, we know that a very person, right, to be a thief, he has to bring himself or herself to a place to use the body, right, also use the intelligence, right, to get material, in this case, right, the thief, generally speaking, let's say, will go and a place, just stealing and or taking the things is not a big giving, right? And then take away from that person the honor, actual honor, and try to enjoy it or use it for his or her own benefits. And so the thief's action, and from his way or her way to use the physical body, of course, we know is completely right. Even from the secular law point of view, it is illegal. And then the way he or she uses her intelligence to achieve and that goal, meaning that took the physical, whatever you call it, stuff, right? And been taken from the person and to his or her own place. And so the way they use the intelligence again is completely right, and both secularly and spiritually wrong and illegal and evil. And so that person is his attachment to temporary happiness, right? He, just like others, he or she is want to be happy, but the way and then did something to achieve the happiness. The way he or she did, in fact, is turned out is against him or herself. Why? It's because when you take action, use this body, use your intelligence to stealing thing, right? First of all, that the process of that stealing is very stressful, right? Right? And then even you successfully took somebody's thing, belongings, right, possessions, and brought it to your own place, and you are using it. So underneath your consciousness, somewhere in your consciousness, you know that is not completely enjoyable. You're not really fully free, feel free, and freely really enjoy it. Why? Because there's something that concerns you about whether his or her action will be discovered, or will be found out, and be caught. So, beginning at the action of stealing, and all the way to the end of the process of enjoy or use the stolen object, that person is mentally is suffering. He or she never really finds something that's completely enjoyable. But again, out of ignorance, and he or she attached to temporary happiness, and then committed to such a crime. And all the things from beginning to end is been very stressful, right? And then we know once this person be caught, and he or she will be taken to the court, right? And the police will first will arise, an investigation will take place, and then finally will bring to the church and the court, and the judge will proclaim the sentence. So, when we look at this process or this social phenomena, so-called the judge and the court and the police and the investigations, all these things, it seems that separately existed and operating under its own power. In fact, it is not, right? And that for example, the thief, right? The example we give it like a thief. The thief has to go through all this process in the court, and has to deal with the police, right? Has to present him or herself in front of the judge in the courtroom, and finally be sentenced. It looks like the judge is there, and the court is there, and the police officers there. But if you questioning is this how this happens, right? How this happens actually really taking place in a subtle way, you will find that which is not the court, the judge, that very judge, very court, and the police, and the entire process of investigation is not an independently existed entity, right? Is there that that process taking place is all because that person's action or the karma, okay? The karma that person committed, the stealing, the karma of stealing or the taking and without it being given for free. So that very karma created his or her own version of a court, and the judge and police officer and the judge, the sentence. So all these things is the production of that person's karma. And so if you see this, and then you will know, indeed, the misunderstanding or misconception of self is or in other words, is the wrong understanding of the self, and which is the cause of all the misdeeds. And misdeeds, of course, produce the result according to the nature of the deeds or the action you took in place. Right. So self-cherishment and the karma, and so the relationship between these two is kind of subtle, right? It's not that kind of all quite obvious in all the time. But if you examine carefully, and you will see it's really indeed your karma and your misconception of self are the negative karma and the misconception of self are indeed serve the sort of and rotating sort of cause and effect, and plays the role of cause and effect.
samukshibtu tanga ngaram dali mi litiji toyo ya mi korche ngeda nyongo mare ngithago mare soso la hongchong ba mamelu chini nyam thago shoje tende ji yo mare ngase teni jonga rangjin gi tepate khorong go yirwachiga mena ta tende ta ko diga na katam na bathru diga ta ya na tna ya royo yo mare tende mare arong de chi tham matak pa de girwi rangjin je za ani tidang na bathru ngado 능의 용사 등하고 노출 mongo 요래 노출 용사 그 능의 용사 정말 민진 토바이나 대 열지당 토바이나 열지당에나 수 민진 토비고는데 어제 노르샤 노르 민진 지진에 또 지금 현재 담자지 지난 아주 열지당 토바지기 그래서 또 코로나지 기도하지 말 때는 정말 자랑지 듣고 연장 강화도 선망하고 땅으로 소소소 노트 등인지 지니 지마 때리 랑카 때 모르와지네 랑카 상보진 댐가지네 아니 직접 양지 셰르블라 소바 그래서 소소 통중마지 소송이 니거를 전 통리와 등 매치 탑그래서니 담바도 뭐지니 말한 거 지금 리든 배조 땅네 소소로니 그 벤주리 날에 소된 날에 아니 전 공부 좋아해 내 강지 탈라 니와 동다 같이 지긴 살 삼비 칼롱티 정네 아니 깔리야 트와이나 아무 야체자 담바 야기로 토고로 맞지되기 동다 뭐 용탁 그래서 강에서나 뭐 탐진 결위랑 제듯이 맞다비랑 제듯이 되잖아 거 때라 때니 아니까 정도다 된 여러함에 봐 답배랑 지지나 군저라요 말 때는 오늘 좀다 제요 말때 말해 말 제요 노트이나 노트 요성진이 장보고 쇼라 공부야 고급지 요래 내가 점점 맞지나 장보고 잡혀서 속에 차성아 매와 차요래 근데 저다 직진들 리프트 요 말에 조수도 생각 칼로 있던 지래 말이나 모다 당게지 모다 칼로와티 나라 요거 정도 요거 땅나 그런 로사 사차티 땅 랩토고 요거 맞나 마송의 배 오라지 소라로 양가고 때는지 내가 너무 못 치세요 때는 소소 살라 뒤동 년도 랑지 살라 소소 랑가 다시 땅에 소소 야기 땅 주때 바로 싸이무기를 치킬레나래 치킬레나래 막 대원도 같은 느낌도 봐주나 때 같이 주는데 삼기가 스타 때문에 대한 경험도 지금 맞는 거 주지나 또 놓치게 이거지
Yes, to make what we have been discussing, we have been taught about, and try to make it all these ideas or the things we discussed to make sense. We have to think carefully, and or in other words, we have to do a very careful investigation, and we have to examine it very carefully, very attentively, observe very attentively, and investigate the validity of the discussion and the teachings we have talked about, and very carefully. And so then we will begin to see that it is the case, and we will begin to appreciate its profundity, right? Apart from this, and there are often, and we humans have another tendency, right? Other than the self-cherishment and proud about it, but often when we come to the spiritual practice or the trainings such as we are discussing, we're talking about now, we usually will find an excuse. We heard that there's a voice in our head says, "Oh, this is not for me, and and I'm not capable, and this is too hard, or this is too beyond my capacity." You will heard such a voice in your head, and then use as excuse and not to pursuing the or practice the wonderful teachings we have talked about here. Because logic, you see the logic, right? You see the reasoning, and you also, and when you apply your individual life experience, you know that what we have just said is that it indeed makes sense. But often, you will be sort of fooled by the self, some kind of the self-denial, or the consider yourself is inadequate. Okay, inadequacy of the self. And when you have such a problem or feel this way, and so remember, and another important teachings of Buddhism. Right? In Buddhism, and fundamentally, the understanding of the nature of reality, a nature of thing is free of or devoid of inherently existence. Right? Anything, anyone, any event, in other words, is does not exist inherently or operating under its own power, or is independent, independently. And this is indeed the case. It is true. Because it is true, it is indeed the case. So therefore, we say, "Oh, I cannot do that." Right? It is beyond my capacity. Remember, and it doesn't matter and how it appears to you, how it looks like, but things, events, the reality, because it is lack of or devoid of inherent existence. There's nothing intrinsically, right, built in or out there objectively. So therefore, it could change. It can change. Okay, you can change. You can improve. Okay, you can change the situation, the conditions in which you are living in, and you can make the change yourself. And another, if we approach the same thing from different Buddhist perspective, it says that all compounded phenomena are impermanent. Okay. All compounded phenomena are impermanent. What is a compounded? The compounded is a sort of a combined, built-in, right, and putting together. So all things are depend upon anything that is dependent upon something else or build up based on something else. Then we know it is impermanent. Okay? So your individual's current situation, conditions, which you feel you are incapable, so the practice or the spiritual qualities which we talk about seems is way far from you. But remember, so everything, okay, is a compounded phenomena, meaning you can, right, and change that very condition, very status of you, and if you do feel you are inferior, and you feel the lack of, or and not being strong enough, and so change is the nature of all phenomena. Remember this, okay? Change is the nature of all phenomena, and look down yourself. Right. Consider yourself is small, powerless, and not important. And so the look down yourself is not it is wrong, and so the way you justify yourself is small, or it cannot powerless. In fact, is not the case at all, and because after all, you can make changes, right? So spiritually here in Buddhism, you must look at yourself as interconnected to the up onto the greater picture and of a reality, and so encourage yourself and emerge to the pictures of universalism, okay, and the altruism, right? And so kind of take you, but instead of look down yourself, think you are small, but look at yourself from an altruistic point of view, from the universalistic point of view. Then you see that you have the reason and to make a good money and to be wealth, right? And you see the reason, and you have to maintain the good health, right? And it has to be doing well and socially reputable, right? And very successful. Why? Is because your universalism or universalistic perspective, right? And your altruism, and as long as you look at yourself from this particular perspective, you will see that to be wealthy means you can help others, and to maintain and good health. It means you have the energy and you are resource and being resourceful, and so being develop the skills, right, and socially reputable, and all these things that can be a rich resource and to benefit all others. So this way, and you will find yourself really as being sort of empowered, right, and you're not a small individual, you're not less important, but rather you see the so you have this universalistic value, and your altruism is indeed is the source of all the spiritual qualities. So after all, the bottom line is that when we see that anything, we remember that the very nature of the compounded phenomena is impermanent, right? So look at yourself this way, and look at others also this way, and put in the perspective, and then always be aware of, be mindful, right? Be mindful, and so yes, it's like they drive in a car. So here you have this body, you have this your life, right? And think of your life is like a car, and you yourself is the driver. So your life is your car, and you are the driver. So as a driver, right, and you have the goal you want to achieve, right? You like travel from one place to another. And as a good driver, right, good driver who will taking very good care of the car, and while on the road, right, he or she will drive very carefully and lawfully, and maintain the good state of awareness, and being mindful, always to examine one's own and directions, right, the conditions of car, and the speed limits, and so on and so forth. So similarly, your life is your car, and when you pursue in the spiritual realization and try to achieve your ultimate goal of happiness, you have to know that when you feel that it's frustrating, it's hard, remember, all the compounded phenomena is changing, is impermanent, and so therefore is subject to change, right? So at the same time, and fully use your life and take advantage of your life and live with altruism, just like the good driver and drive a car and towards one's on the goal, and so checking one's own mind, right, from time to time, and yes, and then if you find that that is something wrong and could cause the miseries, and then immediately modify. And just like you drive in the car, as soon as you realize that you made a wrong exit, or you are not in the right lane, and then immediately shift it and change it, right? And so if you see the mistake, if you're still on that same line, or you do keep doing that, could cause the car accident, right? And could cause huge troubles and on you and others. So similarly, and examine your life and see how things are going, and if you're doing well, and just maintain and with great mindfulness and awareness, and keep doing it. So if it is as soon as you find that then there's error, and then immediately correct it. I think this is the simplest way and easiest way, and to maintain our spiritual practice and to make progress. So let's practice meditation now. For today's meditation, I suggest you all, and I give you the theme of the meditation today. The object of your meditation is impermanent. Okay, is impermanent. So the way to approach this object of meditation, impermanent, is this. First of all, you can analyze the impermanent aspect of your life in terms of how you come to be this moment today. Meaning, so since you were born, right, all the way, right, through the childhood and the teenager and up onto adult and to today. See how the things faster and change it, right? Try to get the sense of capture that reality, the aspect of the impermanence of yourself in terms of and how you are changing or being here because of the impermanence, and also. And you can think about the changes, see how many things and you have been done good, right? And if you realize that you have the list of great things you have done, and try to rejoice it and encourage yourself, be happy about it, and press yourself and maintain that state of self-confidence, right? And rejoicement. And at the same time, if again, when you're doing this analytical impermanence of the actions, if you realize, see, there's a few things or several things which you haven't done well, or in fact you did something that can be considered as wrong, and then feel regret about it, right? Feel just recognize the wrong thing as wrong, and then promise yourself from now on, and you will remember this is wrong and doing, and you will never ever do the same thing. So, and then keep that resolution and a state of mind of resolution, and be there and maintain on that state of resolution. So this is my suggestion, the theme I give to you, and for today's meditation is meditate on impermanence.